Hey, welcome back to the table. We're getting ready to start the uh, the next phase here, the activation phase one. Um, Funny story, real thing that happened. I went on a business trip to Ireland. I've been to Europe 3 times in my life, and one of the times I went to Ireland, and they were all extremely upset with George Bush Jr. He was our president at the time, because apparently the U.S. presidents, the first diplomatic thing they do every time they come into office is they do something like they either visit or call, or I don't know what the actual details were. They do some kind of diplomatic thing with Ireland, and George Bush Jr. snubbed them. He, I think he did eventually do exactly what they wanted. It just he didn't do it first, and so he violated tradition. And they all hated George Bush. It was just so funny because like I'm thinking to myself, I love the country and the people were very nice, but like Ireland's not the first thing that comes to my mind that as a president of the United States that I need to go deal with, even if it's a tradition or not. I mean, it's just it's one of those funny things, and but for them it was extremely important, and they placed so much value in it. And it wasn't just one person. I mean, it was like dozens of people that oh, you're American. That George Bush. It's just like it was a very trendy thing to be angry at George Bush for that. So there you go. There's Ireland, and all their nonsense. My other two visits, by the way, were to Belgium. One of those included the Netherlands, and that's it. I never went anywhere else. Just Netherlands, Belgium, and Ireland. I was supposed to go to uh, England, um, but actually my oldest son Josh um, came along, and he was due any week, so we couldn't go while she was that far along. And anyways, we didn't go. That was going to be for like our first pleasure trip instead of actually work related. But anyways, that's sorry. Thank you for letting me indulge in some personal stories there. But yeah, so it just this game made me think of that. That so the first thing I did was I went straight to Mexico to do a trade deal or whatever, and I snubbed the Irish too. So sorry, Ireland. Okay, so we finish all this, and it concludes. We're flipping the page. Now we're gonna do activation phase one, or I guess activation phase three is like identical, right? Um, so first thing we do is we roll a d10 and determine which country is acting, and one of the two is going to act here, and then in phase three the other one will, and you'll see that here. Um, Perform Russia or China acts depending on which country did not activate in phase one. So 1 to 5 means it's going to be Russia, 6 to 10 means it's going to be, and then we're supposed to consult the WPR1 or WPC1 to figure out what they're going to do. And it's a D10. That's interesting. Is that really what I rolled, or did I roll? I unlocked that. So I actually rolled a 9. This is the one that fell off the table. And then I guess I could, like, I don't know how they did that, but I could, like, lock this in the air. See? I sort of like it this way, anyways. I didn't really care for it being right in the middle. But, maybe we can move this. Yeah, we'll lock it there. Oh, look at that. I'll just try not to roll underneath it, I guess. Okay, so we're triggering China, which means WPC1. And again, you don't have this book. There's a book called World Peer China Acts. WPC 1 is on page 2. And holy crap, is there a lot going on. So first thing we got to do is determine if there's a victory and player auto loss, posture changes, strategic capabilities, espionage, economy, and then actions. Holy crap. Okay, none of this is available for you, so I guess I'm doing a lot of reading here. Has China won the game? Before performing any actions, total the number of Chinese influence markers on the map. If the total is 15 or more, then they win. And we know that's not the case. We have 4, right? So that's what this is trying to say. Okay, so no China win. So next thing we do is posture changes. Flip all the tension counters on China. Do we have any tension counters on China? We do. If the number is okay, so let's just flip it. So we got a 2. So if currently at posture 1 and the sum of flipped tension counters is 5 or more, okay, that condition was not met. If these next 3 questions are if currently at posture 2, which we're not, we're at posture 1. If the sum of the counters is 0, 1, place a trending pro-US. For every increment of 5 in the sum of tensions values, place 1 trending anti-US counter. So what it's saying is if for every increment of 5, the relations with the US would go down. And if you had like 10 or 11 here, so it'd be trending down at 5, but at 10 you would get 2 trending down markers, which would mean it actually moves down. But that's not the case here. So we only have a 2. And we're not at posture. So the first condition was posture 1 and the sum of the tension counters is 5 or more. That would have caused this to go to 2. There was a whole bunch of them that if at posture 2 things would happen, but that's not true. Then it says, then immediately before you perform any actions, remove all the tension counters on China and redraw half rounded up of the counters you removed and replace them number side down. So all this means is we're going to lose this one. But half of 1 is still 1 because we're rounding up. And so it just gets a new one. Alright, that makes sense. I mean, we didn't do much with China and didn't do anything to anger them either, I guess. Okay. Next. Increase their capabilities. Make 2 if currently at posture 1, or 3 at posture 2. Attempts to improve China's strategic capabilities according to the priorities below. For each attempt, roll a d10, subtract 1 if there's any sanctioned counters on China. They don't have any. A 1 to 4 at posture 1 or a 1 to 5 at posture 2 equals success. So their top priority is where they trail the U.S. by 2 or more boxes. And if they have actions left, increase cyber warfare, naval forces, training, and tech. Multiple attempts may be made to improve a capability, but it can only be improved by 1 box. Okay, so they're going to get 2 attempts, and what it says is that they're going to try their top priority a second time if they fail. So China is 2 behind us on intel gathering. So this is their top priority. They want to do this one. And basically, they're willing to try twice, is what it's trying to say. So they need a 1 to a 4, and there's no sanction, so they don't get any bonuses there. I think they just did it. They rolled a 1. So China moves up. So now they can't move this up anymore. So then their next priority is cyber warfare, naval forces, training, and tech. Cyber, naval. It says training and tech. I guess it would be these 2. So they're just shorthanding this. So this is a 1 to 5 roll. So I'm just going to subtract, if I don't roll 1 to 5, I'm subtracting 5 from the roll. So I rolled a 4, which means it's going to be this one. So now we're going to roll for it. They rolled a 10, so that's not improving for them. So it stays the way it is. Okay, so we just did that part for them. Next is espionage. If the China's relation with the U.S. track is at 1 or 2, it's not. We're at like 4. And posture is 2. They make 2 espionage attempts. So that doesn't happen here. Boy, this is like going... I know this goes back to 2000. Boy, we used to actually get along with China. It's like boggling my mind. I know we still do a lot of trading with them, but it's like a very... I don't know. It's not a very... I don't think it's a very good relationship. Okay, so if their state of economy is 7, do not do this. It's not. Roll a d10. If they get a 1 to a 5, this starts to move up. They got a 6. So 6 to 8 is no change. A 9 or more would have been worsening. And remember, this is also, they get the marker that says it's going to go up. Let's see. If there were sanctions on them, that would have changed the outcome. -1 per China influence in Asia Pacific. Asia and Pacific. Where's Asia and Pacific? Here. Okay, so that 6 would have become a 5. Central South Asia, 4. The Middle East, nothing. A 4 is enough to get them an improving economy, but the other one would have been Africa. So that would have reduced the number to a 3. So they're definitely improving their economy. Like that. So it doesn't actually go up. It just gets that. and a -1 or a -2 if China's relationship with the U.S. is 4 or 5. So because they have a good relation with us, that number got even lower. So their economy is definitely going up. Next is calculate how many actions they get to do. China receives a number of actions equal to the current value on their SOE track plus 1. This is modified by the track at the bottom of their relations with the US track. So that's a 5, and then that's a -0. And if they had any plus or minus APs, they would have gotten those. If we would have rolled a 9 or more on the attempt to improve the economy, they would have lost another action. They're suggesting that we use a die to track the number of actions they have. So basically, they have 5 actions. And it says perform each action listed below once in order until all China actions have been used or all actions have been performed. So we're going to do 5 of them. And there are exactly 5 written here. It says if you have any left, go to the next page and do as much of the remaining action hierarchy as you can. Oh, I see. Okay, so there's 5 actions that only occur if certain criteria are met. Then we go to another page where there's 10 possible actions that uses a hierarchy. Holy crap. Leave it to GMT to do this. Okay, so they got 5 actions. Here we go. Action 1. Terror in Central South Asia. If there are 5 total terror group levels, there's 3. Okay, so that action doesn't happen. Quell rising dissent by addressing internal issues. Roll a d10, adding 1 if China posture is 2, and subtracting 1 if the SOE is 6+. It's not. Alright, let's roll a d10. We rolled a 10. No effect. This step doesn't cost an action this turn. Oh, it makes me wish I rolled a 1 to a 4. 3. Reinforcements. If China is at war, they're not at war. I don't know how I would tell they are at war. They're not at war. Oh, I bet you could tell they're at war over here. Yeah, see, that's war. Yeah, they're not at war. So we still haven't spent an action yet. We got 5. Remove reduced sanctions on China. There aren't any, so we're skipping that. If China is at war, nope, we're skipping that. So now we're going to the next page. There's 10 actions to take in hierarchy order. Perform each action listed below once in order until all China actions have been used. Cyber attacks. Make 1 attack if at posture 1, which they are. 2 at posture 2. For each attack, roll a d10 and determine the target. Then another d10 to resolve the attack on the chart to the right. Well, let's roll the first d10. I rolled an 8. So a 1 is the US. 2 is US. 7 to 8, they're targeting India. Success Okay, they're targeting India. So then we got to roll to the right. Roll again and check a chart to see if they succeeded. So now I rolled a 4. So it says if China cyber strategic ability is greater than US, it's not. If it's equal. So then we rolled a 4, which is a success. Just not a major success. There are success, major success, and failure. And 8 or more was required for failure. Okay, so target India. Success increases the regional crisis in Central South Asia by 1 box. So they caused this to go back up to a 3. Alright, that was one action. Holy crap. Okay, one belt, one road. Place a trending anti-US counter on China's relations with the US track. Alright, so they are reducing their relations with us. Then perform the following steps using this list of Belt and Road regions. So starting with Asia Pacific. Count the number of Belt and Road regions that have either 3 China influence counters or a China base. Nobody has more than 1. Place 1 counter in the 2 Belt and Road regions where China has the fewest influence counters. So here's the Belt and Road regions. There's Asia Pacific, Central South Asia, which already has 1. Middle East, Africa, Eastern Europe, and Eurozone. So there's 1. 2. And that caused them to go up to 6. Okay, yeah, they needed to place 2. So what it was saying is if there was any region that had 3 influence, then they would have done improving economies in these areas, but that's not the case. Regardless of which option you choose, immediately place 2 tension counters on China and 1, oh just jeez Louise. So China is getting 2 more tensions. And then it says 1 tension counter each on Japan, India. So India, Japan, Australia, South Korea, and Russia. This is a lot of counters. If you still have actions remaining, keep going. Alright, so we did 2 actions. Expand China's influence in neighboring regions. This will be action 3. If any regions have 3 or more Chinese influence counters, nope. Make 1 roll on the first region specified by the following conditions. There are 0 to 1 China influence counters and no base in Asia Pacific. There is 1. So we're going to roll a d10. 6. Okay, so add the selected region's U.S. regional alignment. So we're 6. The U.S. regional alignment looks like it's 6. So we're at a 12 for them. If it was 10 or less, they get an influence marker. Any other result is no effect, but it still costs them the action. Then there's a whole bunch more, like if this was Central or South Asia, and Russia was involved, blah blah blah. There's other things, but that failed. So that's still the third action. Now it's the fourth action. If China has relative strength on the China-Japan or India-China conflict, they have relative strength in both, I believe. Yes, they do. Oh, this is asking if it's equal to or lower than. That is not the case. Pakistan is not at war. If the India-Pakistan conflict track is 3 or higher, it's not. I don't think they do this action. So now we're still moving on to number 5, and this would be their fourth action. Secure the sea lanes. If there's at least 2 China influence counters or a China base in Asia Pacific. I don't think there's 2. We just did this. There's only 1. Yeah, I don't think we do any of this. So that doesn't happen. Step 6. Expand China's influence in Central and South America. What a weird place to be expanding influence. Make 1 roll. Alright, we rolled a 2. This can only happen if their alignment is less than 7. And there's 0 to 2 influence. There's actually 1 already there. Oh, hold on. It has to be the regional alignment is less than 7. There's 0 to influence counters in Central America, and either that's Central America, and then the South America is 7 or more, which is not the case. There's 2 or more influence counters in South America, and more Chinese in South than that's not true either. Attempt to expand Chinese influence in South America if its regional alignment is less than 7. It is. Roll a d10 and add the selected region's U.S. regional alignment. So our alignment is 5. So they rolled a what? A 2. So we got a 7. On a result 10 or less, they get to add an influence. So they're up to 7. Man, we could lose this game fast. Okay, they do add an influence though. Okay, that's 4 out of a 5. Now we're moving to action 7. Veto UN sanctions. Is there a UN sanctions counter on Iran, North Korea, Blah, blah, blah. I don't know if there is. Let's look at Iran first. Nope. North Korea would be here. There is a UN sanction on that. So let's go to that. China vetoes the renewal of sanctions at the UN. Remove the UN sanctions counter from North Korea. That's it. That's their 5th action. Holy crap, that was a lot. Just out of curiosity, what is it? So it's just a number 2. Okay, so that was China acting. That was a lot. And just in case you're curious, there's a lot of. By the way, there's a pretty cool summit table going on too. There's prepare for war, oil partnerships, and testing the cyber war against the U.S. economy. So those are what we avoided. But my takeaway from this is that they became an influence monger. They just went up by 3, and it's not going to take long for them to get to 15 at this rate. So they keep wanting to put influence everywhere. And I think that's one of the things we need to start focusing on. Although I was focusing on the crisis and other things, I can understand why being a president's hard. All right, so this is done. Next, I'm going to put it here and show where we're at next. So any 3 actions, I'm assuming, is us. We get to do something. In reaction to the world situation, you may take a mix of any 3 of your possible actions on the master actions player aids: domestic, diplomatic, military, or presidential. Key cabinet members may not use their +1 action ability. We can add 1 AP if we forego an action. You may spend 2 APs to gain an additional action. Yeah, this is the part that I was reading. You can spend 2 to do another one. I do like this. This is nice because we just spent a lot of time watching bad things happen to us, and then we get to do something. I like that. So I think I'm going to focus on. See, they didn't do anything domestically. This was all 100% diplomatic. So we can try to de-escalate conflicts, decrease tensions, which is good because we can actually try to decrease tension on China, for example. We could do that summit with China that I was eyeing up, which looks like it's a lot more reading again. We could impose sanctions, but I'm not interested in that. Remove influence counter in one region. So we can remove Russian or Chinese influence in a region to protect regional alignment with the U.S. So may only be used 1 per segment. Choose a region with alignment of 7 or 8, or 6 if there's a regional crisis is 0. Holy crap! So that means you got to get the alignment up. Nobody's at 7 or 8, and the crisis is at 1. Like, where is there a crisis at zero? And not even South America has that. Eurozone has that. So we could try to remove them from Eurozone. Okay? No, you need to be at 6. We are at 6 in the Eurozone. So we can remove them from Eurozone, and that's it. If I roll a 1 to a 6, let's go, baby. We're going to go ahead. This is action 1. Of course, we roll a 9. I'm going to spend an AP. So it puts us to 9. Let's go 7. But I get a -1 because we're doing our actions here. And all my guys have a 1. And this is a foreign one, so it's Secretary of State. So with my 6, I pull it off. We at least get rid of one of these dang counters. And push that back down to 6. Everywhere else, I can't even touch it because we got to raise alignment. And so I think that's our clue, right? We need to take a clue from it. So we're going to attempt to improve alignment. That's one thing. And then I like the idea of a summit. I know it's going to be a lot of reading and chart stuff, but let's try to improve alignment somewhere. And I think I'm going to try to improve in the Asia and Pacific area because we're already at alignment 6 here. So choose a region, do an alignment check. So I got to roll a d10 and get less than a 6. And remember, I get a -1. So I have a 5. I do think I get to do a -1, and then if China has influence, it's +1. And it's for each country. It's just China. So we succeeded. So that lets us put a trending pro-US there. Because remember, it takes a while. We probably should have finished off the Middle East instead of having all these markers like they are. Okay. Then the third one is I want to try the summit. So I know I'm gonna regret this because it's gonna be another 12 chapter check. Now the summit I'm gonna do though is with Russia. It is not with China. We do have a deteriorating relationship, but I think that we're good for right now. Let's talk with Russia because we have the anti-U.S. trend going on, and that's my bigger concern. And there's a lot of tension going on there too. So you pull out the World Peer Russia Act, and on page 10 is the Russia Summit. Refer to the Russia's current relationship with the U.S. to determine how many problem areas you may discuss at the summit. You may only discuss one of each type of problem. So our relationship is 2 or 3. So we can do 2 problems. Choose the first problem area and then roll a d10 on that line to determine what Russia wants in order to improve the game state for the problem area. Some problems require you to spend AP. Decide whether you're willing to agree to what Russia wants. If so, congratulations. If not, the discussion of the problem area concludes in failure. If you have another problem to discuss, you can do that. When you have finished discussing all problems, the summit is complete. Roll in the summit results table to determine if there's any game state adjustments. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Alright, what can we talk about here? Improve relations. I like that one. Remove sanctions. They do have some sanctions. Improve trade. No. Stabilize Eastern Europe. Central South Asia, Middle East, or Central America. Only if relations with U.S. are 2 or higher. Jointly mediate a civil war ceasefire. Joint regional anti-terror campaign. Only in certain regions and only if there's no sanctions on Russia. And you need 3 or better relationship. Contain a rogue state. Again, no sanctions, 3 or more relationship. Control Iran's nuclear ambition. Again, 3 or more relationship. So we can't do any of those. We're going to go ahead and focus on improving relations and removing sanction. Let's start with removing sanction. So now we're going to roll a d10. Let's do it. We got a 3. Okay. I don't understand. It says roll a d10 on that line in order to determine that Russia wants in order. It just says result if successful. Russia demands or offers if the d10 is 2 or less. What Russia demands or offers if d10 is 3 to 5, 6 to 8, or 9 or more. Oh, I see. So if it's successful, we get to remove any sanction on Russia. Remove 1 tension from Russia and from U.S. cabinet. Well, we don't have that. We rolled a 3. Russia offers more cooperation and less aggression. Place a -1 AP counter on Russia. Okay. So the sanction goes away. And then we get to give them a -1 AP. Oh, here we go. Remove 1 tension. And of course we don't get to look at them, but I'm going to go ahead and grab this one to the left. So remember, they're going next. So by getting rid of those tensions, like China had all kinds of nasty things if this was equal to 5 or 10, right? So my logic is China's already gone this year. So I want to proactively get in front of Russia. Reacting to China is great and all, but they're the ones going next. Okay, so we removed the sanction, removed the tension. Like, removing the tension was probably the best part about that. Now we're going to try to improve relations. So let's go ahead and roll again. I rolled a 5. Place trending pro-US counter on the Russian relationship. So that just means we get rid of this. I don't know where the China one is. Oh, here we go. They're trending anti. Oh yeah, because of this. But where's the China one? It doesn't matter. That's good enough. But there's... Oh, right here. There we go. Okay, so this gets removed. They were trending this way, but now we remove the trend. And then because we rolled a 5, what does Russia demand? Nothing. They see it in their best interest to improve relations. And, yeah, so like, they would have demanded that we removed a sanction if we rolled a 6 to an 8 or whatever. So, so yeah, they agreed. So that concludes our summit. So now we got to do our summit result table. Let's roll. I haven't even looked at the table yet. We rolled a 6. So in a die roll of a 6, percentage of problem successfully dealt with. Well, we did 100%. 2 of 2. Alright, so we get plus 2 public approval. So 1, 2. Public approval. Remove 1 tension from Russia, place. Oh, remove 1 tension from Russia. There should be a period there. So we get rid of another tension. And then we get to place pro-US. Excellent. That's awesome. I, okay, I don't enjoy looking up all these charts and reading as much as I'm doing, but I'm enjoying this. Like, thematically, this feels like I'm negotiating with Russia and trying to improve things, and my political opponents are accusing me of collusion. So it's all good. All right, that was our 3 actions. We did do that. So let's move to the next page, which is we're drawing a chit. It's one of these. So let's read what it says. I pretty much know where to draw it from. These are all the possible actions that we're going to get. So it's going through those. I'm not going to read all this until we draw our chit. So let's do that. What are we getting? We're going to draw crisis cards. And there's 2 here, which means we're going to draw 2 of them. And let's just go up and verify. Draw 1 or more crisis cards, one at a time. Perform all actions before drawing the next. And then, what does this C mean with the... If the traces chit you just drew had no plus sign, it finishes this segment, which thankfully it did. Move your counter to the 1... Yeah. If it had a plus sign, move your counter down 1 space and draw another. And if this is your 3rd, then end this section. See, I'm wondering, because see how that has a red C? I'm wondering if it's telling me I need to draw a red crisis. But it doesn't, it doesn't, because there's domestic crisis. I think it's just this. That's all we're doing. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's telling me to just draw 2 crisis cards. But there is a governing manual that does cover this. And they go into these different crisis chits pretty well. And yes, this is just a regular plain Jane draw crisis cards. Draw 1 at a time. When you're finished drawing and resolving, the action's complete. Now, one thing it doesn't say is, okay, do I put the chit back in the cup? I mean, it's telling me actually to put it here. Like that. And then if I had a plus, I get to draw again and again. So we're skipping this because this doesn't have a plus. Just to help you out, like, see, that one has a plus on it. And I had no idea I was going to draw. I was just going to draw them until I found one. So I'm going to put it here. And I'm assuming that when we do cleanup, this stuff goes back in. So this is already here, so that way when we draw chits here, 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 and here, we're not going to draw that one again. So um, this is going to move, once we finish doing this, of course, we're going to move all the way basically to here, because we're going to get one ally rogue group X, and then keep going. Sorry, I need a drink. Okay, moving on. Let's draw the two crises. Those are these. So we got the reshuffle pile, and one thing I didn't mention is as we draw these crisis events, they go here, and then when we go to year 2, these cards get added to these cards, and then half of these also get added back. So there's a bit of shenanigans there, but this is the first card. If there's currently a level 3 or level 4 terror group or any rogue state on the map. Ooh. I see only level 2s. We do have a rogue state, level 1, right here. And here. We got 2 of them. Place 3 new level 1 terror groups. Place 1 in the Eurozone. Roll 2 d10s to identify 2 random regions. Okay, so terror group 1 is going in Eurozone. Interesting. And what did I do with my dice? Going to roll 2 d10s. I have a 5 and a 10. And I know there's, here we go, 1, 2, 3, 6, 4, and 5 is the Middle East. No surprise there. 10 is the Asia Pacific. Alright, so this is done. It's an immediate. And see, it tells you right here that when you're done resolving the card, it goes into the reshuffle pile. So that's what the R stands for. Here's card number 2. This one's a cascading event, so it's not going to go into R, it's going to go to the 2. Okay, place the +1 AP counter on GSSA ally. Which is, where did we determine those guys were? I know they're one of the ones that we're not friendly with. Gulf States, Saudi Arabia, that's what it is. So this goes, oh, either way, it's covering it up. Sure, I'll put it there. Maybe like that. That might work. There we go. Okay. Improve ally relationship by 1 level. Oh, interesting. So we just moved a very close. Place 1 tensions counter on Iran, GSSA, and Israel. Increase GSSA Iran conflict by 1 box. Well, that much should I know how to do. So this goes up to 3. Then we got to do tension on GSSA, Israel, and Iran. Alright, so 1 more tension on them. 1 on Israel. And 1 on Iran. This is getting pretty juicy here. And then this particular card is going here. It goes to the 2 box. And we'll shuffle those up. Alright, so that was our 2 actions. So it took us an hour to get through this, which, for our first time, I'm okay with that. So now we go to this next section. Randomly draw one of the 4 ally chits to determine which group of allies and or rogues activates. Refer to the ally and rogue nation action chart. Ay ay ay. Alright, so that's one of these. So it's allies rogues group A is going to activate. And yes, this is a reference to another chart that we have. And oh, my dog wants to play. I'm sorry. I'm busy running the world right now. Yeah. Okay. So Group A is page 2. Holy buckets, there's a lot to do. This thing, I mean, I'm not disliking this game at all, but man, I'm feeling exhausted. There's a lot going on. And, okay, these allies act only in their region except for NATO, who can affect the Eurozone or Eastern Europe. So this is Group A, which is EU, NATO, ROK, and Iran. And I can never remember. ROK is that's South Korea, right? Republic of Korea, which is south. Okay. Perform European Union procedure to update economic trends. So we got to roll a d10. Okay, we got an 8. Slumping economies. Place worsening economy counter on all 4 SOE tracks. All 4? I guess they're impacting all of us. Where did I find the dang? Because I found that. So there's 1, 2, there's a 1 AP just for Russia. I don't understand. So 1, 2. Oh, here we go. 3. And is the other one us? So they caused me to lose this? You jerk. That would be all 4, wouldn't it? Okay, then that was European Union. Now we're going to roll a d10 for the Eurozone. Alright, we got a 2 this time. -1 or -2 to the roll if the Eurozone stability is 6 or 7. I don't think that's the case. Well, it is 6. So it's going to get a -1. So that becomes a 1. If it's a 3 or less, the Eurozone thrives. Place economy improving counter on Eurozone SOE track. So this one goes away. But everybody else stays bad. And then also -1 to regional crisis. It's at a 0 already, so nothing happened there. Okay, next, activate NATO. So NATO is very close. So we get 2 joint actions. Perform a number of joint actions. Number of actions is determined by ally relationship and then adjusted by any -1 or +1 AP markers that's on NATO. They don't have any. The possible joint actions you can choose are listed below. If the ally has a must choose when it's time to select their joint action, then they perform the action before doing any others. And then if there was any tensions, those would flip over. And then we would roll a d10 to see what kind of unilateral actions they're going to do based on the tensions. They don't have any tensions, but I'm just reading it because I want you to understand what would happen here. Then after you apply the results of this unilateral action roll, which is on some chart, we then remove all the tension counters. So what I don't know is, it says I can do some joint actions, but where's the joint actions chart? Oh, here they are. I have so Intel, auto success 1 max. Locate any terror group in the region. Place that group on the gather intel box in the region. Or if they were already on the intel track, move it to the next box. Okay, so what they're getting at here is, so there's a terror group in the Eurozone. We know it exists, but we don't know where they are. So we're gathering intel on them if I move that there. So that would be one of our 2 joint actions. And if this thing progresses to here or here, we could possibly raid and destroy the terror group. But right now they exist, but we don't know enough about them. So I mean, I like that one. I'm going to reserve the right to change my mind. Raid is an SOF raid against the terror group that's in the fixed here, which we don't have one. So that's an option we can't do. We can try to stabilize the region. We roll a d10, -1 if the crisis is at 0. On a 1 to 4, the stability goes up 1 box. I like that one. Reinforce if they're involved in a war, which they're not. If it has a conflict track. Oh, yeah, if it has a conflict track, which would be one of these. It does not. So we're not going to do anything. Oh, no, it does, right here. Russia, NATO. Conflict track. So we could attempt to decrease the status away from war by 1 level. Roll d10 and add 2 if the ally relations are close. On a 1 to 7, it decreases by 1 level, and -1 tensions counter to each nation on that conflict track. It would get rid of another one. Or we could request UN humanitarian aid at any region. On a 1 to 8 result box, result decreases regional crisis in the region by 1. And we can remove up to 2 tensions just as an action. Okay, well, I'm looking at the situation. I think that moving the terror group into that box was fine. We could try to de escalate this. I mean, they're not that close to war yet. I'm okay with that. I think I want to try to improve the stability. So let's do this. I think I need to roll 1 to 4. I rolled a 4, so we were able to get the stability to go up by 1. So that's really cool. We got stability up to 7. And that's it. But we're not done. So now we got ROK, which is South Korea. And then we have Iran, which I'm assuming is on the next page. It is. All right, we are not done yet. I knew this was going to be a lot of stuff. Um, okay, South Korea, Republic of Korea, using the same procedure as described in 2, except now it's for South Korea. Um, all right, so South Korea is here. We are very close with them, which means we get 2 joint actions. And it's the same exact joint actions as before, except these guys have tensions. There's a lot of terror groups. So I want to do the terror group one for sure. Intel. Locate any terror group in the region. We're going to take terror group 2, put it up there. Because it's going to take a while, right? You got to do this several times before you can finally destroy them. So that's one of our 2 actions. We can try to improve the stability, which is sort of high. They're not involved in a war, but they are involved in this. So we can try to remove that. We're going to request humanitarian aid in any region. So the de-escalate would get rid of the tension. It would move this up by 1 and get rid of some tension. But I think I want to do the humanitarian aid because I get to lower the regional crisis if I succeed. But it doesn't remove the tension. So that's an interesting issue. Um, let's try to remove this or lower that. So we're gonna go ahead and roll. Nate's higher numbers are never good. So if I'm doing the tension, it's a failure. So we didn't do anything. After NATO and ROC activations, activate Iran. Which is, I see. Hold on, I'm just trying to make sure I understand everything. So like there's a tension on South Korea and I'm just trying to figure out like when does that tension cause a problem? Oh, right here. Unilateral action table. So it says, when finished with joint actions, flip over all tensions counters and reveal their values. This was true for NATO, but NATO didn't have any, but these guys do. So we have 2 of them, right? We have a 1 and a 2. So we're at 3 on tension track. Then it says roll a d10. So we rolled a 4. I'm assuming that 3 makes it a 7. So the result so if it was a 4 to a 5, so here we go, DRMs. -1 if there was no tension counter. +1 per tension value. So that's the 3 we were talking about. +1 for every 2 tension counters on North Korea. North Korea has just 1. And then plus a half rounded up conflict status value. That's this. So half of 2 is 1. So we rolled a 4. We had to add 3. That puts it to 7, and we had to add 1 more. It makes it an 8. Join U.S. sanctions. Replace any one unilateral with a multilateral counter. If none, roll again. We used to have one here. Is there a unilateral sanction anywhere? I don't know if there is. We're rolling again, folks. Oh, this is going to be even worse. So it's a 6 that becomes a 10. Strengthen military ties with the U.S. Add 1 tension counter to North Korea. Move DPRK ROK relative strength 1 in ROK's favor. Wait, that wasn't so bad. That wasn't bad at all. What that's saying is the relative strength is moving 1 towards the good guys. Okay, so we took care of that. Now, what that does help me to realize is for the Eurozone, we have to do this too. Even though there was no tensions, it just means there's going to be nothing added to the die roll. So we have to do 1 for them as well. So we rolled a 7, and they get -1 if there was no counters. So that becomes a 6. +1 for every tension value. There aren't any. Plus current conflict status value on Russia-NATO conflict track. So it was a -1, but that's going to add 2. So this is now at an 8. And +1 for every current war, including U.S. forces, which there's 1 against the Taliban, so that makes it a 9. So a 9 is deploy troops. Add 2 strength to the strength forces box of any war in the Eurozone or involving the United States. So they're actually helping us quite a bit here. So how do we add 2 strength? Where do these strength markers... Oh, we just do this. So we're going to add 2 strength to that. That's actually really cool. If none, increase relative strength, blah, 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 which we're done. Okay, so this unilateral action table happens always. So now we got to go activate Iran. So it says there is an Iran action table as well. But first thing it says is flip over any tension counters and sanction counters on Iran and sum up their values. I know they have some. So we got 2, 3, 3. Roll a d10 and refer to their action chart. Okay. Oh, one thing I forgot. South Korea gets half their attention. So they had two. Now they get one. Alright, so we have what do we roll? We didn't roll. So we rolled a 5. And then they have a 3, which makes it an 8. So it says -1 if there's no. Nope. Plus the net tensions of sanctions and tension. There's no sanctions on them. +2 if Israel's at war. +1 if the Middle East regional alignment is currently 6 or higher. It is not. Okay, so it's really just the +3. So we rolled a 5 plus 3 is 8. Reduce Middle East stability by 1 box. Oof. If Israel, the US, or GSSA is at war with the Middle East, add 1 strength to their opponent. And that's not the case. Okay. So we did that. Remove all tensions on counter and replace with half rounded up. And remove all sanction counters and replace. There's no sanctions. Man, oh man, I'm enjoying it, but gosh, I feel like I'm going to work. Final action: check unstable states. Roll a d10 once for each unstable state counter in Central America and South America. Well, we actually have 2 of them there. So we're going to roll a d10 for each one. Let's hope we roll low. I just looked at the chart on this one. So this is the Central America. And this is the South America. So a 2 and an 8. Alright, well the Central America was nice and low. That one gets to remove the state. The 8 though, not as good. Oh, the 8 just keeps it. +1 if regional stability is less than 5. I just forgot about this. That one would have been a +1. So it would have made it a 3. Still would have been removed. But yeah, this one becomes a 9. And a 9 means it's now a civil war. There's a war now in South America. Alright, now that is done. Whew. It feels like a whole year is going to go by the time I get to this end. We're just in activation phase 1. Alright, so we just finished. Now it says POTUS Cab Focus. See, we're not done yet. We got this now, which so we get to refer to the section and we start rolling dice. Roll a d6 for each focus priority unless they have a tensions counter on it, which none of them do. And then we get to do their stuff. Okay, so we're doing this stuff here, and we're gonna roll a d6. So right here, for each area that does not have a tension marker, none of them do. Our success range is listed on the marker. For each roll that succeeds, we apply the success effect. Anytime the game instructs you to place them, okay, so we're going to roll some dice. Let's go for it. So first one is we're just going to go in order from top to bottom. So here we go. So a 5 is not a success here. Next one. Maybe I should just hit R. Not a success. Not a success. Man, this is horrible. Success. Either +3 to public appreciation or +1 to public appreciation and 1 in media relations. We'll do 1 and 1. Alright, then we go here. Like this is one I wanted to succeed at. Got a 1 here. -1 to domestic crisis. Perfect. And a 3. Roll 1d6. +3 presidential APs. 1, 2, 3. We're back up to 12. Alright, well, I really wanted the economy to get up and roaring again, but it didn't happen. Okay, so we finally finished this, and now we go to this stuff. Decrease media relations by 1 box. That degrades with the passing of time. Oh, that's so funny. Perform 2 domestic actions. I'm assuming that when I'm doing 2 domestic actions, I get to use my domestic bonus, meaning that my cabinet. So here we get to do 2 domestic actions. I never in my wildest dreams thought this was going to take this long. I'm getting ready to go to sleep here. I'm tired. This is exhausting. Okay, party fundraising. Encourage bipartisanship in Congress. We're going to do that one again. It's going to cost us 1 AP to do that. We're going to roll a die. We rolled a 6. Becomes a 5 because of what we're doing, but that's basically a no effect. I'm going to go ahead and spend an AP to roll again. That didn't do us any good. Alright, so that action failed. I could do it again, because I get 2 actions here. I wanted to maybe... Let's see, we don't need to remove tension from a POTUS or anything like that. Address a domestic crisis, a lingering domestic issue. So we have lingering domestic issues. If they get up to here, you lose the game. So we are currently at 1. We could try to address that. During any activation segment, you can only do it if the domestic crisis level is 0, which is not the case, so I cannot do this. Let's try to attempt to stimulate the economy. So it's going to be an action, and then I have to spend 2 APs because I'm going to try to reduce my DRM. So that puts me to 8. So what this is saying is make a state of economy check. So I rolled a 5. That's less than 6 is what I needed. So I was able to get the approve economy thing going. I also get to add a -1 if it's a cabinet focus, but it has to be the number 1 cabinet focus. I don't think it is. It is not. I was able to add -2 because I spent 2 APs though. So I was able to get that number nice and low. So yeah, I definitely succeeded at that. Alright, that is done. Oh, we got a legislative segment. Hold on. And not done. Oh my gosh, look at all this reading. Oh, I'm so done. I'm going to end the video here because this is a lot. We will pick this up tomorrow. We're going to perform legislative segment. Well, hold on. There's no pending bills. Here we go. Attempt to pass. If there's no pending bills, skip. Introduce new bills. Yeah, we're going to eventually get to one of these. Yeah, we're stopping here. We'll try again tomorrow when I'm fresh and have a fresh cup of coffee and all that jazz. Thanks for watching. As always, stay awesome. Look, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of reading. Um, Looking up charts. I feel really bad because most of the charts aren't available in this simulator, so you don't get to see what I'm reading. Um, am I having fun though? The answer is actually yeah. It's not my kind of game because I am making decisions, but a lot of stuff is just happening to me, and it's like playing Picket Duty where it's a or Queen of the Skies. Yeah, you make a couple of decisions, but you're always just looking up charts to see what happens. It's a very narrative heavy game. Um, but I'm actually fascinated by it because it is sort of neat. In some respects, I wish this was a video game and not because then the looking up the charts and all that stuff wouldn't be so daunting. But I still see the love that the designer put into this game, and this is by no means a bad game at all. It's not my kind of game, but I'm having fun playing it. Like, is this something I want to play over and over again? I don't know, but I am having fun. And we're not even done with the first year, so we'll see. Um, but yeah, I definitely gotta go hit the hay. Playing this game has made my brain tired. That much is true. Is it a hard game? No, it's a lot of. I feel like I deserve a salary after doing this. Anyways, thanks for watching. Stay awesome.